Hi guys, hope you are doing well and welcome to the channel. Well, today I want to leave my 2 cents on a very hot topic, which is Venezuela. Uh, President of Venezuela, or better to say, the former president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, has been detained by U.S. forces in Caracas. Actually, everyone, including Maduro himself, was expecting a full-scale military invasion, like ground forces and bombing the strategic spots and strategic places. But apparently, Trump administration choose a more spot-on and perhaps wiser and less costly way to solve its Venezuelan issue. What we know about operation so far is Maduro and his wife were detained and in an overnight operation conducted by Delta forces, and perhaps they are on their way to US or they already arrived. Social media was full of reports of huge explosions in Caracas, under headline of full-scale war begin, the ground forces is attacking the U.S. Air Forces conducting carpet bombs, and etc. But actually, the explosions were actually limited and tactical, and perhaps they target the air defense system. The explosions were targeting the air defense system, and the systems most likely provided by Iranian regime like a very short time ago. And regarding press conference of Trump, nothing is surprising actually. But one thing we have to note and we have to spot on, unlike Syria and Ukraine case, Venezuela operation has been orchestrated, led by Trump himself and his team. I mean, not Pentagon nor Senate were involved. And also, it's very clear that Marco Rubio is playing a major role since he knows Latin America more than anyone in Trump administration, and his role is very clear. And well, I mean, it's fair to call him like a shadow president or president. I mean, shadow leader of the operation in Latin American policies. Uh, I mean, it's too early to analyze outcomes of operation. You already know what's going on and what happened, and there are discussions about the international law. Is that ethic in the diplomatic circles? These are the other subjects, and I'm sure there are people who can discuss these things better than I do. I mean, I'm not Latin American expert, but in this video, in this post, I want to discuss a little bit about mistakes and contradictions of Maduro and global socialism. Let's remember who Maduro is. Maduro is a self-described leftist socialist leader, introducing himself as an unyielding defender of oppressed people against U.S. imperialism and U.S. tyranny. But on the other hand, he partners with authoritarian regime, any kind of authoritarian regime in the Middle East especially, and worldwide, under name of fighting the U.S. tyranny and U.S. imperialism. I mean, this is what he says. But the question is that, is anti-Americanism enough to make you defender of oppressed people? Absolutely not. Let's remember who Maduro's best friends are. First of them is Iran. I mean, the most famous one. Iran never hesitates hanging political prisoners, jailing them, oppressing the ethnic minorities, especially Kurds and Baluchis, killing young women, young girls for not covering their hair. And Turkey, which ranks among the world's lowest in freedom of expression, no fair elections anymore, dealing with former Al Qaeda and ISIS leaders in Syria and entire of Middle East actually, has a long history of massacre socialists during Cold War. Yes, that should be. I guess that's something most of people don't know, but Turkey has a very bloody history of massacring socialist activists during Cold War, jailing, killing, executing them. And Turkey doesn't have a bright history with Armenians, Kurds, and Greeks. Not only oppressor but also genociders. These people are calling Turkey. So, what does make Maduro, Iran, and Turkey come together? I mean, apparently, it is not a great contribution to socialism, socialist ideology. So, it must be this revisionist foreign policy of these three actors, Turkey, Iran, and Maduro, populism, and shallow anti-Americanism. There isn't contribution to socialism anymore, at all. I mean, most of socialist leaders, you love them or not, are not only politicians or leaders or soldiers, they are also intellectuals. But it seems this is not the case for Mr. Maduro. The guy doesn't even have a deep ideological capability on socialism, well, at least not in my knowledge. Uh, his only argument has been a shallow anti-Americanism. Uh, both his foreign policy, foreign and domestic policies, are based on that anti-Americanism and anti-tyranny, and this anti-something, which I find so lame and far from being creative. Nothing to solve issues, not helping his own people, but only demonizing the U.S. and his allies, which is not smart, huh? Uh, Many leftists, if not most, across the world, actually buying this anti-Americanism of Maduro. I mean, they have sympathy to Maduro only because of this discourse, this lame and simple discourse, without any policy, without any solid solution suggest. They just buy and they just love Maduro only because of this uh, very not deep. I'm trying to choose the best words to to not make anyone angry. Uh, they love Maduro only because of this discourse, nothing else. Uh, Most of them are thinking that being an anti-Americanism is real meaning of being a real socialist, which it cannot be that simple, right? I mean, simply you cannot be a good socialist only because of being anti-American, right? There is no policy making, no intellectualism. And as a result, they became, I mean, the socialists became extremists, radical religious, friends of the radical regimes and dictators in the Middle East. I mean, imagine that you are a leftist and socialist, and you are promised, you are determined to be progressive, relying on the science. You read Marx, Engels, and so on, but suddenly you find Iranian regime and Al Qaeda, ex-Al Qaeda, and ISIS leaders in Middle East are your best friends. I mean, there should be something wrong, right? I mean, I don't want to be unfair. In all fairness, I totally understand that Maduro is isolated by the US sanctions and he wants to make friends, which is quite normal. I mean, he just followed the basic rules of real politics and geopolitics. And Venezuela is not an exception in geopolitics, of course. But the issue is that he chose wrong friends to break this isolation. Uh, yeah, again, there are some socialists across the world, especially from Turkey. They love Maduro, they support Maduro. Like yesterday night, some Turkish leftist left-wing parties issued a condemnation, like many condemnation against the U.S. operation in Caracas. Uh, they are saying that that's violating of international law, and that's not acceptable, and they have to release Maduro as soon as possible. I doubt that US is listening to them, right? Well, to sum up my point, sum up all the posts, my point is that Maduro has over-relied on idea of anti-Americanism and nothing else. He chose wrong friends like Iran and Turkey and didn't create any policy, but only demonizing his enemies, which is America. But in exchange, what did he get? Nothing. One of his best friends, none of his best friends actually showed solidarity with him, and they didn't do literally anything to support Maduro. I mean, no solid step taken by his best friends in Middle East. Turkey, for example, uh, didn't spell any condemnation against what happened in Caracas. I mean, yeah, leftist parties in Turkey are condemning this. They issued the condemnations against the operation, but Turkish government, I mean, didn't spell any condemnation against what happened in Caracas. They didn't even mention uh, about the U.S. operation, and of course, they are seeking their own benefit. So, despite what Maduro did, how Maduro portrayed his best friends, Iran and Turkey, in exchange, his friends didn't do anything for him. So that itself proved that Maduro is not smart man to choose his friends, and his shallow anti-Americanism didn't help him at all. And other thing is that, like Aisha's headline of this post, uh, I believe the global left and socialism should take some important lessons from failure of Maduro. It is time for the left and socialism have a come to Jesus moment. First of the lessons they should take is that uh, being anti-Americanism or anti-Israel or anti-something doesn't help them at all. They should create policies, not only demonizing them, not only creating the enemies, not only being anti something, but they have to create options, solutions for people. And secondly, they should leave the lens of Cold War. I mean, Cold War is over, right? All we know that. I mean, Cold War is over before I was born, and it doesn't bring anything but romanticism of good old days. But reality is different, totally different. The world changed, and Cold War is just old days. And the third is global left and socialism should suggest real solutions against global issues. I don't only mean the military one. We have global climate change problem, racism, discrimination, minority issues. World is changing. I mean, look at what's happening in Middle East. Sykes-Picot agreement is over. The borders are changing. The minorities suffered of post-World War One world order is gaining their freedom and gaining their rights back, like Kurds, for example. Uh, I mean, the left, global left and socialism should suggest real solutions about these issues, not only military issues, but also climate and the discrimination and other things. Uh, I mean, Maduro was flirting with Iranian regime, and as a socialist, you have to ask yourself, what do people of Kurdish political prisoners in Iran feeling when a socialist is supporting Maduro's flirt with Iranian regime? I mean, Kurds or Baluchis are oppressed minorities in Iran, right? You cannot be defender of oppressed people by supporting their oppressors and tyrannies. I mean, yeah, you can totally think that U.S. is oppressor in your part of the world, but in my part of the world, Iran is tyranny and the oppressor. You cannot defend my oppressor. I mean, there is no good oppressor and a bad oppressor. Oppressors are oppressors. Okay, if you are if you see yourself, if you accept yourself as defender of oppressed people, uh, you have to be against any kind of oppressors. I mean, there is no good oppressor and bad oppressor at all. So I can say that's all for today. I just wanted to leave my 2 cents, but Venezuelan issue from a different angle, different scope. Uh, Once again, I'm not a Latin American expert. I'm sure there are many people who know Latin America better than I do. Uh, but here my point is mistakes of Maduro and global left and how it impacts on in the Middle East, where I can say I know Middle East, not an expert, but I know Middle East very well, I can say. So I just left some suggestions for the global left, and please feel free to leave your comments under this video, and let's discuss and support me with your subscription and likes. Thank you so much, guys, for watching.